in a truly unexpected twist that left audiences stunned and sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. A fiery exchange between Conan O'Brien and Jimmy Kimmel has reportedly resulted in Conan being kicked off Kimmel's show. What began as a routine guest appearance quickly spiraled into an intense verbal sparring match that no one saw coming. Conan O'Brien, known for his sharp wit and quick comebacks, arrived on the set with his usual charm and comedic energy. However, according to sources present during the taping, tension was already brewing behind the scenes long before cameras started rolling. It all started with a light-hearted joke from Conan directed at one of Kimmel's recent controversies, which, according to insiders, didn't sit well with Jimmy. Though Kimmel laughed it off at first, it was evident that the atmosphere in the studio grew heavier with each passing minute. The exchange escalated when Kimmel took a jab at Conan's recent projects, implying that the former late-night host was trying too hard to stay relevant. That was the spark that ignited the fire. Conan responded with a scorching remark about Kimmel's safe comedy and alleged lack of originality in recent years. The two comedians, both veterans of the industry, clashed on air in a way that was far from scripted. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, not knowing whether to cut the segment or let it play out. The audience, at first unsure whether this was a part of the act, quickly realized that the tension was real and rising fast. As the exchange continued, Conan's tone shifted from playful to pointed. He accused Kimmel of selling out and becoming a puppet of corporate interests, citing specific examples of brand sponsorships and political guests that he claimed were designed to pander to advertisers rather than entertain or inform. Kimmel, clearly offended, retorted by accusing Conan of being bitter over his departure from network television, and insinuated that O'Brien's relevance had declined since his exit from TBS. The studio grew silent. What followed was an uncomfortably long pause as both men stared each other down, their microphones still hot. Kimmel then attempted to move the conversation along, but Conan wasn't ready to let it go. He brought up a story about their past, when Conan had helped Jimmy early in his career, and accused him of now turning his back on old friends in favor of Hollywood elites. Kimmel snapped, allegedly saying, "You're not the only funny redhead. The room anymore, Conan," a comment that immediately drew gasps from the audience and murmurs among the crew. It was the kind of moment where even the most seasoned professionals didn't know what to do next. One source claimed the tension was so palpable you could hear a pin drop on the studio floor. Conan, visibly irritated, removed his microphone and stood up, addressing the audience directly. He spoke about the current state of late-night television, criticizing what he called a bland, overly cautious landscape, where authenticity was sacrificed for viral clips. Kimmel interrupted, telling Conan that he was being disrespectful to his show and crew. What followed was a verbal standoff that pushed the segment completely off the rails. Behind the scenes, showrunners were frantically debating whether to cut to commercial or let the confrontation play out, hoping it might resolve itself. But the argument only escalated. Conan continued to deliver biting criticisms of the late-night format, suggesting that Jimmy had abandoned the edgy humor that once made his show unique in favor of appeasing networks and staying politically correct. Kimmel, now visibly frustrated, accused Conan of turning what should have been a fun guest appearance into a lecture. He allegedly told his producers off mic, "Either he goes or we stop this taping." At that point, security staff were subtly positioned closer to the stage, just in case the situation took a physical turn, though thankfully it never did. An assistant producer approached Conan off camera and politely asked if he would consider wrapping up the segment early. Conan declined, saying that he wasn't finished speaking his mind. He returned to his seat and resumed talking, this time more calmly but still with pointed words. He expressed disappointment in what he described as the manufactured authenticity of modern late-night shows and lamented the lack of meaningful conversations. He said viewers deserved more than carefully scripted banter and pre-approved talking points. The crowd was divided. Some applauded, others sat quietly, unsure whether to support the outburst or remain neutral. The moment was raw, unfiltered, and undeniably real. At that point, Jimmy Kimmel stood up from his chair and walked toward the audience, taking the microphone with him. He attempted to regain control of the show by addressing the viewers directly, thanking them for their patience and suggesting that things had gone a bit off the rails. But the sarcasm in his voice didn't go unnoticed. Conan, not one to back down, responded from his seat stating, "If real talk is going off the rails, maybe we need to derail more often." That line drew a massive cheer from a portion of the audience and seemed to be the final straw for Kimmel. He walked back to his desk, leaned into the microphone, and calmly, but firmly, said, "Conan, I think it's time we wrap this up. Thank you for coming, but I believe we're done here." Without waiting for a response, he signaled to the crew to begin transitioning to the next segment. Conan stood up, adjusted his jacket, and walked toward the exit without another word. As he passed by Jimmy, he reportedly whispered something inaudible to the cameras but caused Kimmel to roll his eyes. The incident didn't end there, though. Within minutes of the taping's end, social media lit up with speculation about what had occurred. Some audience members who had attended the show began tweeting cryptic messages about a meltdown and an explosive argument. Fans of both comedians rushed to defend their favorite, while others called the entire debacle embarrassing and unprofessional. The incident began trending on X, formerly Twitter, with hashtags like Conan vs. Kimmel and a late-night showdown quickly going viral. As the dust settled, neither camp released an official statement for the first few hours. This silence only fueled more speculation and debate among fans, insiders, and fellow celebrities. Some fellow comedians chimed in on social media, expressing shock over the incident and choosing sides subtly through retweets and comments. A few even praised Conan for telling it like it is, while others defended Kimmel's right to maintain the decorum of his own show. Later that evening, sources close to the production confirmed that Conan's segment would be heavily edited or potentially scrapped entirely from the final broadcast. Meanwhile, Kimmel's team quietly worked on damage control, unsure whether to publicly address the altercation or allow it to fade from the spotlight over time. Behind closed doors, Kimmel reportedly told his producers that he regretted inviting Conan in the first place, claiming that the energy had been off from the beginning. On the other side, sources close to Conan said he stood by everything he said and believed the confrontation was long overdue. They noted that Conan had always been passionate about the direction of comedy and had simply reached a breaking point after years of feeling marginalized by the mainstream late-night structure. For many, the incident opened up a larger conversation about the current state of late-night TV, whether it has become too safe, too political, or too disconnected from genuine humor and authenticity. The confrontation between Conan and Kimmel may have been a personal clash, but it struck a chord with many who feel the industry has lost its edge. Over the next 24 hours, the story continued to gain momentum, with entertainment blogs and YouTube commentators jumping on the topic. Multiple unofficial clips from the taping, captured discreetly by audience members, began to circulate online despite strict no-recording policies. These clips, while grainy, confirmed many of the reports about the heated exchange and showed just how intense the argument became. Some fans argued that Conan was merely being honest, and that his criticisms reflected thoughts many viewers had but were too afraid to express. Others criticized him for using someone else's platform to push a personal agenda. Meanwhile, a few former late-night hosts weighed in, offering mixed reactions. David Letterman, in a podcast appearance, commented that the drama reminded him of the old days when late night actually felt alive. The incident sparked a wave of commentary from media analysts, some of whom framed the clash as symbolic of a generational shift in comedy. They pointed out that Conan represents a more rebellious, self-deprecating humor, while Kimmel has moved toward a polished, corporate-friendly style. Whether this was merely a one-time flare-up or the beginning of a deeper divide remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. The entertainment world was watching, and everyone had an opinion. Even casual viewers who rarely tuned into late-night shows suddenly found themselves invested in this fiery clash of comedic titans.